What's up, everybody? This is Music City Driver. I'm coming at you from home today. I decided to take the day off because, first of all, I went to a Slayer concert last night, so I'm a little tired. I didn't get in until about 1 o'clock. I usually don't drive on Sundays, so I figured, what the heck? I would take the day off today, just kind of chill, and I figured I'd make a video about my Money Monday, basically my review of the weekend, because I only drive mostly weekends. I drive Thursday through Sunday. So last week, actually Saturday, I had a little interesting experience. I accidentally left my Lyft driver app on all night. Well, not all night, but I guess technically all day, because that's when I went to sleep. So when I woke up, I could not log into Lyft on Saturday. So as a result, I only had 2 rides, but they were pretty lucrative rides. Actually, one of them was a really lucrative ride. I only had 2 rides. One of them was like $6, but they gave me like a $5 tip, which is cool. The other one was a 100% prime time from Nashville downtown out to Opryland. So let me rotate this. Sorry. Well, sorry. I guess I can't rotate it back the other way. Anyway, I should have started it the other way. So I am going to do a quick review of my week. I worked Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights only. After work on Thursday and Friday, and then during the day on Saturday. I didn't start till 6:30 on Saturday. I actually had a late start. Saturday was crazy. There was a huge soccer game in town in Nashville. It broke a record of attendance in the state of Tennessee, anyway, for soccer matches. There were like 56,000 plus people there. And that ended around 7 o'clock. There was also an Ascend amphitheater concert going on, plus all the normal bachelorette parties, etc., that goes on. So Saturday night was totally insane from about 7 o'clock until late into the night. So I had a couple of good surges from that time. The surge looked like it got up to like 4 at one point, I believe. 4.3, right around downtown. It was crazy. It was like a huge red giant tomato right in the middle of the Uber screen. So it was crazy. So for this last week, I drove for both Uber and Lyft. I by far got way more Uber rides, and I still got tips. So looking at I have to actually. I have a paper log that I keep, and it looks like I added up roughly what Uber had as that I had online. So I had about 26 hours and 20 minutes online with Uber. Did a total of 44 rides. Got $22 in tips, which added up to a total of $628.93. It's not too shabby. And with Lyft, it shows that I was online for 20 hours with that, but like I said, that's not going to be accurate. So if you add those two together, they're not going to be even accurate. But I do have a paper log that I keep, and I usually take at least a 30-minute to an hour break on my shift in between there, just to like hang out and sit somewhere and eat for a while. And thank you guys, two people there, for watching. I just noticed that you guys were watching. So I'm kind of doing these live streams until I get another GoPro camera. It seems like this is pretty useful. My phone does this weird thing if I try to record a video. Otherwise, it unsyncs and all this stuff. It's bizarre. So, and I got $12 in tips, 9 rides with Lyft. Like I said, since it was on that whole day, I couldn't even log into Lyft until later in the day on Saturday. So I didn't really get that many Lyft rides. So I only made $139.50 for the whole week on Lyft. That's pretty pathetic, honestly. 9 rides and $139.50. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. Well, one reason I don't want to stop driving for Uber is that Lyft does not allow you to separate your accounts out. If they let you separate your accounts out, um, for I can do Lyft Plus rides only, then I would do it. But until then, I'm sorry, but I'm just not. I actually have 4 separate accounts on my Uber account. I have an Uber account with X, XL, and Select. I have an Uber XL only. I have an Uber XL and Select only. I'm forgetting one. And then I have one Uber Select only. So if I didn't do that, I mean, I can cruise around at a 90, almost a 90% acceptance rate on Uber with that. So I did take a couple of Uber X rides because it would be foolish for me not to go off of the XL only and select only mode while X is surging like crazy. So I kind of devised my strategy for driving X and X, XL, select or whatever, gauged by the surge, and it's really hard to tell sometimes if the XL is surging because you've got to look at your passenger app to tell that a lot of times. Because on the screen, what's going to show is the X surging. So when you've got like a 4 times surge on X, it may only be like a 1.5 or 2 on the XL or select, but those pay substantially more. So if you think about that, then so if it's surging pretty high on X, then I will go to X. And there's a couple of circumstances where I got some pretty decent X's. And of course, when you're doing XL and select only mode, VIPs come through. Who the hell's calling me? VIPs actually come through as well, which is interesting. So, VIPs are basically X rides, but they're people that have ridden a lot with Uber, and they actually unfortunately have really bad ratings most of the time, and some of them are kind of jerks. So, I actually kind of avoid VIPs a lot of times as well, just because I don't know. I think because they feel like they've achieved VIP status, maybe they can be more of a jerk to you. So another interesting thing. Oh, but let me get to the total. Sorry, got off track. The total for the week was, like I said, about 26, 27 hours. And I got about 768.43. That's with both apps with the tips. And also got about $31 in cash tips as well. So that was about a total of $799.43 for the week. For 26 hours, it's not too damn bad. Like I said, I didn't work a whole lot. Saturday I actually ended a little bit early because I got a ride headed out my way, which is west of town, towards Dixon. So I ended up dropping off in Bellevue area, and there was no need for me to go all the way back into Nashville because it was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I just really didn't feel like doing any airport runs. How many miles did I drive? I'll have to look. I've got it written down. I actually didn't even include that, but I have a log that I keep every time before I start driving for Uber and Lyft. Like for instance, Saturday, I know for instance I made $280 something plus the Lyft. I made about 320. This is off the top of my head, and I only drove like 250 miles or something like that. So I usually aim for $1 a mile to tell if I'm actually being somewhat profitable. That seems to be a decent indicator, and I was way above $1 a mile Saturday night. So yeah, I've got actually a different. I do a hand log as well as I actually do Hurdler is what I use, where you can categorize the Sherpa Share you have to pay for. Hurdler is free. I already pay for Mystro, which in my opinion is helpful, but I'm not going to pay for Sherpa Share as well. I also keep track of my mileage by using a trip meter on my odometer. So when I do a trip meter, I reset it, and then I drive, and then at the end of the night, I write down how many miles. Simple and effective. So because when I'm out, whenever I hit that trip meter, from that moment on, I'm driving for rideshare. I leave my apps on all the way until I go home. So if I do happen to get a ride, then so be it. But that whole time, I'm effectively actually working for rideshare, looking for rides. So some people may not agree with that. Yes, Mystro is definitely helpful with Uber and Lyft because you can set, when I'd go into regular mode with X and everything, that's when it's most helpful for me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It's most helpful for that when you have X rides in the mix as well. One thing that I wish Mystro would do, and I don't know if anybody watched this or not, but I might send that suggestion in, is that VIP rides, they don't filter those at all. Mystro does not. But they're effectively X rides, so I don't know why they can't do that. So it seems like it'd be an easy thing to fix, but when I am, I have my preferences set to have a minimum surge on X of like 2. So, in my opinion, anything under a 2 is not really worth the time for me because I drive an XL. Like I said, my mileage is not as good as other people's, etc. So, I feel like it's only worth it for me to drive X's unless they're surged. So, Mystro really helps me do that because I can just it doesn't automatically accept them, and then it does automatically accept the ones that are higher surged. So it's pretty awesome like that. So, um, but yeah, I made really decent this. I think I averaged at least $30 an hour or something like that. Um, I try to, like I said, it's all about trying to maximize your profits and knowing the areas that you go to. With Excel and Select, I target certain areas in Nashville because bachelorette parties are here all the time. Those bachelorette parties are actually going to um, be concentrated in the Airbnb areas and the hotels. Mostly Airbnbs though, because some of these bachelorette parties are pretty large. So yes, absolutely, you got to drive smart, not hard. Absolutely. And one thing I do is I'll sit around for a little while in an area, but I usually don't have time to sit still most of the time. I'm driving so much. So, but if you kind of find out where the Airbnbs are in your city, I don't know if it's like Nashville or not, but Nashville hotel prices are crazy right now. They're like $300-400 a night, sometimes even higher. It's like New York City hotel prices because there's a shortage. They're building more hotels, which is probably going to bring that down somewhat. But as a result, a lot of bachelor parties, are staying in Airbnbs, which are located in East Nashville and the Germantown area, and even out west towards the Nations area and Sylvan Park area. There are some Airbnbs that are way out, like way outside of town. Like the other night, Saturday night, I had one that was up near Goodlettsville or something. One that was up near Springfield, which is a pretty good drive. Out towards Opry Mills, they have some houses out there. Past, if you're familiar with the Nashville area, with the Opry Mills area, if you go off of McGavick Pike there, and you keep going, there's a Wyndham Resorts, but there's also past there, there's some houses back there. And those are renting as Airbnbs a lot, and those are pretty lucrative if you can get one of those from downtown. That's at least 13, 14 miles outside downtown, and if you're at XL or Plus rates, that's exceptional. So that's what happened on the other night on Lyft. I had 2 rides and made 60 something bucks because one of the rides was a 100% prime time, and they went from Nashville downtown all the way out to the Wyndham Resorts, actually, that I was just talking about off McGavick Pike. So that was a pretty good haul. It was $48 or something was my take on that, and they gave me a $5 tip on top of that. So it ended up being about $53 just for that one ride, and it only took me about 20-30 minutes to complete. Unfortunately, I didn't get any rides back, but that's the name of the game. So, one more thing I wanted to mention. So I have been reading in the news about people using Uber and Lyft as an ambulance, and I thought that was ludicrous, and I didn't think it would ever happen. It happened to me Saturday night. I was on Broadway, near Broadway, and I get a Lyft request. And that was the other Lyft I had, was 2. One was the bachelorette party, and that was later actually than this. And the first one was a guy who had a towel wrapped around his hand, and his buddy was with him, and he had blood coming through the towel, and said that somebody had pushed him off a stage, and he fell on a broken beer bottle and cut his hand up. He did not get blood anywhere. He was very respectful of my vehicle, which I appreciated. But I had to take him to Vanderbilt ER and drop him off there. He basically was saying that funds were tight. He couldn't afford an ambulance, and it was much cheaper to get a Lyft. So I know, right? It's like you, if something's bad enough, then you should just call an ambulance. I mean, I know it's expensive. I know ambulances are not cheap. I know you're looking at $1,000 or more to get an ambulance ride. But sometimes you got to make that decision. But I mean, this obviously wasn't life threatening or anything. But he did need medical attention. He did need to get stitched up probably because he fell in a bottle and lacerated his hand pretty badly. Like I said, his towel was pretty soaked with blood. He didn't get any blood. He kind of hung his hand out the window, which was respectful, I thought. And yeah, it is crazy. apparently somebody else had fallen too. One of their friends and had like something in like some big cut in their back or something. And I think I don't know if they took an ambulance or not. But they weren't there. So yeah, I ran them from right over in front of Hard Rock Cafe. Actually, not right in front of Hard Rock Cafe. It was right over by Whiskey Bent Saloon or something like that, all the way to Vanderbilt ER. And the guy was thanking me, for doing it. So pretty crazy. That's the first and only time I have done that. I didn't want to cancel on the guy after I found out because I was trying to coordinate with him like on the phone, like trying to find out where he was because it showed he was on a totally different street than he was, which is very common, unfortunately, downtown because the GPS kind of throws things around and the buildings around and stuff. So I felt bad because I was, he had to walk a little bit of a ways to get to me because I just couldn't maneuver because the traffic was gridlock around downtown. It was much easier for him to come to me than it was for vice versa. So when he got there and was like, "Yeah, I got to go to the ER. My hand's like bloody or whatever," I was like, "Okay." So I was sort of an ambulance for a little bit on Saturday night. But anyway, like I said, the soccer game was crazy. All of downtown was nuts. And I actually had a pretty disrespectful group of Canadians. It's odd. People always say, yeah, Canadians are really really nice and all this stuff, but it seems like when they come to Nashville, they kind of lose their manners a little bit. The last few rides I've had that were Canadians that were XL rides, like bachelor parties and stuff like that, have been kind of rude actually. There one guy that ordered the ride was cool. He was in the front seat with me. He was not being that disrespectful, but his buddies in the back seat were like screaming at me to you're supposed to be turning left here, and I was like, look, you called me here to drive. Why don't you just let me do my job and let me drive? And you're drunk, so we'll do the GPS and I'll handle that. How about that? So the guys got a little bit okay, and then they wanted to turn my radio up like way past what I normally, and I said no, turn it down. It's still my vehicle. You're going to respect my vehicle. I'm sick and tired of people trying to tell me what to do in my vehicle. It's, just because they order you for a ride does not mean they get to command you around like a freaking slave. So anyway, that was kind of annoying. I was glad when that ride was over with. It was a pretty decent little ride because it was, they went all the way from like, I got pulled like from East Nashville, like 15 minutes away. And I usually don't take those rides that are that far away, but I figured it could end up being coming back that way, so it would be lucrative. It actually ended up going further than I expected. It was like a $30 ride because I drove, and that was my last ride of the night, Saturday night, because it drove me from sort of northeast of town all the way over to Belmead, which is a pretty good little haul. They didn't tip me, of course, because they were jerks, but anyway. So guys, that is my latest installment of Money Monday, of how much I made last week. Like I said, about 26 hours, 768, well, 799.43, including the cash tips. Pretty lucrative week for me. I might try to get out and drive a little bit more next week. I don't know. I have a feeling this was probably the busiest weekend of the summer. It's probably coming to an end pretty soon because people are going to start going back to school and stuff like that. But the college students are coming back, and that's going to increase the number of rides pretty well. So at least I hope. Vanderbilt kids bring a lot of business because they can link their student IDs, their accounts, to an Uber account, which the university did, I guess, to try to stem drunk driving. So that's a lucrative thing for rideshare drivers. They didn't do it for Lyft, which I don't know. It seems like they kind of took sides there, but anyway. All right, guys. Check out the comments below, or make a comment below if you have any comments in the Nashville area or any area. Tips for maximizing your income, stuff like that. Also, check out Mystro in the description below. Like I said, I use it all the time. It helps me quite a bit to keep my focus on the road and keep my focus on what I want to take as a rideshare driver, like the surges, the passenger rating, the minutes away from the wherever basically. So it can totally automate that process for you, make it easier. If you are looking to be an Uber or Lyft driver, please check out my referral codes below. And once again, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're out driving, be safe.